there, I'm Clarence Waldron. Welcome back to another episode of Black Muse. Tonight's guest, my Lord, tonight's guest is the one and only Miss Lisa Fischer. She's a famous backup singer for Luther Vandross, and she's also, well, no, she's also featured in that film, Luther Never Too Much. You must watch that film. Then again, she went on to have a huge solo success with How Can I Ease the Pain? Back in 1992, I believe, she won a Grammy. Major, major. So please, let's have a lively conversation with Miss Lisa Fischer.
Hello, Mr. Clarence.
How
How
are
are you?
you?
I'm wonderful. I'm just so happy to be in your presence. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
yes, yes, indeed. So let's go ahead and dig right in. Luther, Never Too Much was sensational. I watched it three, maybe now four times. Were there
Oh,
any moments that you enjoyed in the film that you would go back to look at again and again, maybe?
oh, I could watch the whole film, even though there are some places that pierce the heart. I kind of believe that things are always in a balance. So, one of one of the many things that I enjoyed was watching Luther's old friends speak about the person I didn't know, you know, Fonzie Thornton, they were childhood friends, Robin Clark, Carlos Alomar, Marcus Miller, Nat Adderley Jr. Uh, it was beautiful to hear their perspectives because I met him at a time he had already, you know, his record was out and things were already cooking. And so they knew that the seeds and the essences of him, and it was so beautiful to get that from them. Like there was a story with Carlos and the green shoes. And I I cracked up because knowing him as Luther Vandross, the adult, the artist, it was just, I don't know, mm, it made the flavors of his life more tasty for me, if that makes sense.
Mm, okay, okay. Now, when did you meet him, and how many years were you with him?
Oh, wow. I met him, I believe, in the 80s. I want to say it was 82 or 83. Uh, Tawatha Ag, who sang with them too, they had a song called Juicy Fruit. And at that time, the song was a huge hit, and she was singing background for Luther as a soprano. And so they needed to replace her. And so an opportunity came for me to audition. I was working with um, the Marvelettes at the time, and the choreographer that choreographed for the Marvelettes also choreographed for Luther. It was a good friend of his. And he asked me to come in and audition. Um, and so I got in and I come into this rehearsal studio. You know how like you go into these rehearsal studios, they've got all these rooms, a little piano, a little blackboard, a little mirror or whatever. And Luther's sitting behind the piano. Um, it was with Philip Ballou, who was the male singer at the time. Uh, and it was Alpha Anderson and it was Brenda White King. And so I got in the room and he just started playing and having me sing all these different sounds and exercises and snippets of different things and asked me to change like the color or the sound of my voice or sing this with more air or sing this um longer or just all these different things that he was asking that I was really intrigued with. And so we got through that and then he says, "Well, if you can dance, you got this gig." I was like, "Really?" I was so excited and so happy. And then I realized, of course, that I wasn't a good dancer. And luckily for me, the choreographer that was there knew that. And so he gave me what we call step touch. So it was very simple, take one foot and touch it to the next foot. And it was very simple choreography. And he also knew that I was gonna, excuse me, excuse me,
Bless you.
excuse me. So sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. he knew that I was going to work really hard to kind of get it all together because that's just, I know where my weaknesses are. So it's just like, I got to work hard on this. So I did a little step touch and Luther was good. And I got the job right on the spot. I was just like, I can't believe it. And I just, I didn't know it at the time that he was used to be a teacher, but it made so much sense with how he was asking for certain things and how clear he was, how articulate. Um, and I don't mean in the sense like, oh, gee, he's smart. I mean, like, it's a specific conversation that singers have. His articulation with singers was really special. So I was just like, oh, I get it. It just all made sense to me. And I fell in love right away. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many years were you with him?
Uh, Let me see. So 82, probably about 25 years.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. What did he love about your voice? You mentioned, he had an ear. He had an ear like a film director. He knows what he wants to hear. What
Mhm.
did he love about the voice of Lisa Fischer?
I'm guessing that I think he appreciated um that my memory for notes and things like that. It was really almost anal about notes being right. It was really anal about pitch. And sometimes when you're on stage, it's difficult to judge the sound bouncing off the walls and space and reverb and sound coming from behind you from the band and what's going on. So, sometimes it would be a little off, but I would be so like the hairs on the back of my neck would stand up if something didn't sit right in my body. It was almost like feeling like a human thermometer for notes. And so I think he appreciated that. Um, I think he might have appreciated just my innocence about just wanting to be this empty sponge, and I just wanted him to pour all his knowledge on me, you know. Um, I think I think he appreciated my range. Um, I think he appreciated my chest voice and my head voice and my ability to want to learn.
Wow. Any favorite songs that you used to love to have recorded with him and sing on tour? So many, so many.
So many, but it's interesting. Just recently, I think his record company put out a video on YouTube of oh, creep, creeping. And I hadn't heard it, the live version in so long, and I'd forgotten that I was singing the little duet line. Usually he has Paulette do that, but for some reason he had asked me to do it this particular time. I guess he just, whatever reasons in his mind and his ear. And I was just so thrilled because I love Paulette and I just love her voice and I love everything she does. And I was just like, oh, wow, okay. I'm going to really, it took years for me to get to that point where he would ask me to do something like that. And it was like the experience of singing a duet line with him is kind of like imagine yourself in a snowstorm, but the snow is coming down heavy, but not hard. It's almost peaceful. And it's almost like you're walking behind Luther every step. Like every step that he would make in the snow, you would try to put your foot in his footsteps. That's what it felt like to me, like singing the notes, like where his air would lay, where his consonants would lay. Sometimes it would lay later than what most people would think. And then, just to kind of trust the spirit and your ears and what he was doing and follow and go with him was just such a ride. It was such a ride. So that's one I really enjoyed doing that. And I just loved the parts he created. I loved how we all sounded together, how we sound together. Um, he was so particular about where he placed each person's voice and how the sound vibrated under him. Oh, it was magical. It was just magical. I just appreciated that so much. I loved singing Oh God, so amazing with him in the studio. I just remember we had done a show, I think maybe the night before, and we flew in that day just to record the vocals. And we were all tired, but we were just so happy to be there. And he was just, creating on the spot. Certain things he decided ahead of time, but other things, when you get in the room, that's when the decision happens, and he's just moving the pieces around. Um, it was with Ava Cherry, Paulette McWilliams, Kevin Owens, and Luther and myself. I think that was it. If I forget someone, please forgive me, but I think that was who was there that day. Um, but it was just any time being in the studio with him and all the singers that he loves and respects is just a gift and a blessing. Tuatha AG, of course, and Sissy Houston, of course, and
Mhm.
just just all of them. They're just amazing. And Kevin, of course, Kevin Owens, and Fonzie, of course. Each person has a unique fingerprint that I think he truly understood and appreciated. And it just opens your heart to love and accept everything about the person that makes that sound. You know, it was just a beautiful experience.
So, but could you sum up if you had a fond memory of him, just one singular moment with him, maybe at dinner, maybe backstage, anything that you remember like that?
Mm. It's I'm going through the Rolodex of photographs in my mind of just these,
Oh,
you know.
mm,
Um, there was one thing that I thought was just so sweet. He Luther had he had us fitted for pajamas, is what he told us. And we get fitted and, taking all your measurements.
mhm.
Some time had passed, and then, you know, we're on the road and we walk. Luther, summons everyone, myself, Ava, Cindy Mizell, uh, Ava Cherry, Paulette, and myself. I think Kevin as well. I'm not sure. I want to say it was Kevin as well. And we go in this room, and the room's got like all these tables where we do our makeup, but instead of our makeup, there are these huge boxes with wrapping and bows and all this stuff. And I'm looking, and I was like, what's going on? And Luther, choreographed us, and he's like, okay, this is you, this is where you're going to stand. He knew exactly which box was for who. And he's like, okay, he says, I want you all to open them at the same time. And so we all open them at the same time. We're ripping the paper and we're going crazy. Fur coats for everyone.
Oh,
And I just burst into tears just because it was one, such a shock, and such a sweet gift for him to give. And it looked like he was just having the best time watching us lose our minds.
mm.
It was just so sweet. Or, times when we would go to, there was a restaurant called, I want to say it was called Genghis Cohen in Los Angeles. And it had some of the best Chinese food. It was one of his favorite places to go. I used to love when he would take us out there. We would just sit and enjoy the food and each other and laughter and um, just his smile. He always smiled like, I don't know, like a teenager to me. Like I didn't know him when he was a teen, but it's what I would imagine. He just seemed so in his peace, in his comfort zone. Uh, he was mischievous in the sweetest and cute way. Um, and his eyes would twinkle when you knew he was up to something, when he's getting ready to tease you or do something. But always like, oh, he's getting ready to do something, I can tell.
Uh-huh.
Just so
Uh,
sweet. So absolutely sweet. I just love, 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 love him.
mm. Let's move to your solo album, So Intense. What inspired you to go solo?
I would have to say Luther.
Mm,
He was, I think, as a session singer in New York, you're always like doing these sessions and it's all good and it's all cool. But I wasn't like going, oh, I really want a record deal. It's like if it came along, great. I just was so happy to be singing. And whenever I would do these demos of different songs for different writers or producers, I would always play it for Luther and he would give me his critique and, you should listen to so and so and such and such. And, that's good. Maybe you should try this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, yeah. Um, and so I think with that, I think he was noticing different things in my voice and thought, maybe he offered me his management, Danny Marcus at Alive Enterprises. Um, and he ended up getting me a record deal at Elektra. And in between, touring and stuff and trying to record, it took a while to finally get it all done, but we finally got it done. And he was just so excited for me. He was so happy and so excited. So I'd have to say it was because of him.
And then let's go behind the music with "How Can I Ease the Pain?" How did that song start? Because you co-wrote it, right? So is it from an experience? If it was, it's sort of deep, but
I
I don't know. Go ahead, please.
love it. So at the time, Elektra wanted me to do an up-tempo song because they had done some kind of survey and they were saying there were too many ballads on the market. So they hired Narda Michael Walden, who is an amazing producer, writer, musician, soul, um, to produce. And so I go to Tarpan and we're trying all these things and I'm trying to do all these up-tempo things. And it's cool, it's nice, everything's good. But in between trying to write an up-tempo song, he kept coming back to this really haunting melody on the piano and he's humming it. I was like, what's that? What is that? And he's just like, I don't know. He's like, I haven't finished it yet. I was like, I want to work on that. And he was just playing "Ease the Pain," and then do 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 do. And that was it. That's all he had. And the chord changes. And so he ended up finishing all the chords and the movements and everything, sent me the track. I took it home and I got my Sammy Kahn rhyming dictionary out. It's a very old rhyming dictionary, but it's still in existence. You can still find it. And because I was a new writer. And I'm going through all this in my head and I'm thinking, yeah, all alone, you know, on my knees, just, oh, how can I ease the pain if I know you're coming back again? It's going to hurt. And so that's kind of what I went through and I wrote it all out. I wasn't sure of the bridge. I was a little nervous about the bridge, but I sang it for him. He might have changed one or two words and then we recorded it. And it was so interesting because as we're recording, Narda's going, I could see the energy in him going, he says, okay, all right, I want you to work on this first line. Kind of did things a couple of lines at a time. He says, what I want you to think about is X and Y and Z. And I was like, okay, so he had me focus on the story in a different way. Because when you're writing it, it's kind of like a poem, but it's another thing to infuse your energy and your thoughts and your life into it. And he was really helpful with that. So by the time it was done, I couldn't believe how he put it together. I couldn't believe it was me because I was performing the song in these snaps and photographs. And then when he put all the lines and everything together in the way that he felt was right, I was just like, wow. I was so in awe of him as a producer and as a human being. It was magical watching him go through the process. Yeah.
So, was that part of your experience, though? Did you live through any drama like that song says?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. What happens, I think, is you look at a person and you're already pre-imagining what you think, how you think that relationship is going to be. And then when it kind of goes off the rails, of your script in your mind, right? That you didn't even discuss with the person, right? Um, you feel like, well, I don't love this about this particular person's personality, but I love this. But is this a deal breaker, you know? Or is this an issue of, mm, is time going to change this aspect of a person? And then you realize, nope. Hence, when the person comes back in your life, you're just kind of like, could it work? Could it work this time? And it's sort of like my little girl mind, like, sure, no, no, no. You went through that lesson. You should move on now, you know. So that really was more, what that was about for me.
Okay.
Lessons that needed to be learned.
Lessons that need to be learned. Okay. Now Luther's all over the album. He's writing, producing, singing backup. So it sounds like an exciting moment just creating all this magic.
It was amazing.
Mm.
So giving. He had he imagined me singing Wildflower, the song Wildflower, and then he asked Nick Ashford, to do the monologue in the beginning of the song. So I was just like, oh my God. So I just couldn't believe my luck, the gift of what he was giving. Just how much he cared, how much he forethought and love that he put into everything that he did. Um, I was very, very grateful and very lucky.
Speaking of being grateful or being lucky, so then you won the Grammy. That's the next year, 1992, I believe.
In 92 for 91.
So,
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what was that like? Did you expect that? Did you expect to win? How about that?
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about any. My manager called me to let me know I was nominated, and I was just in shock because it was Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight, Vanessa Williams, and I am forgetting someone. Who am I forgetting? Aretha?
Was
Patti LaBelle.
Patty LaBelle.
All of whom they are all a lesson in singing for me. They each have, again, their own specific fingerprints on our hearts, through the music. And I was just like, at that point, I felt like I had already won in my mind because I was nominated. That's all I need. I'm good. I'm in great company. I can't even believe on a first record. And I just, those people, I was just like, there's no way I'm going to win. So I was just like, just be happy you're in the room. And then we go to the Grammys. I was sitting next to Chris Walker, and it was Regina Bell and Kenny Loggins who was announcing the category.
Hmm.
And Kenny goes, when he, announces the winners, he goes, Ty Vernon. He announces, I think, Patty's song and then mine. And as soon as I heard Ty Vernon, which was her, I think the single or the album, I just started clapping because I figured she won, right? And Chris is elbowing me. He says, he called your name, he called your name. And he was always kind of teasing me, practical joking me. And I was just like, stop playing. I just heard Ty Vernon just laughing. I was just like, stop saying. He says, no, 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 for real, real. They really called your name. I was like, oh my God. So I'm looking around. I says, if I get up and they tackle me and arrest me, I'm going to kill you. So get up slowly. Nobody stops me. I slowly walk up to the stage. Nobody stops me. I couldn't believe it. I didn't even hear my name being announced. I was so busy clapping for Batty, you know. And then we get up there, and she was so gracious. And it was such an honor to just win and to be in a tie, which doesn't happen very often, but it does happen.
Sometimes, yeah, yeah.
I was really just grateful, super grateful.
Okay. So now after the Grammy win, you're doing the press situation and all that kind of stuff. And that's when you came by the Jet magazine building and all that stuff. That's when we first met. Um, Did you like that period? Did you like all that you had to do as a solo artist, a Grammy winner? Did you enjoy some of that or?
I did, and there were some parts I could do without. Um, I remember after winning, I went into a record store and a fan of a different artist came up to me and just started being angry towards me, like, uh, how dare I think that I'm all that great, that kind of thing, just really ugly stuff. So sometimes you kind of bump into people who may have an issue, um, which may not necessarily have anything to do with you personally, but they're so passionate about who they love that sometimes it can get really uncomfortable on the receiving end. Or sometimes you'll be in a situation where people are overly familiar, a little too over familiar, because they have your record in their hands and they might be running around the house with their PJs on and making them breakfast. So they figure this person is my best friend in the whole wide world. And so sometimes when they see you, they can get a little uh, too familiar. Um, so sometimes that can be a little uncomfortable and a little nerve-wracking, especially walking through the world that we're walking through these days. You just don't know what people's intentions are. So that was a little nerve-wracking for me because I wasn't accustomed to that kind of behavior. I would see it, with fans with Luther and different people I worked for, but I wasn't used to receiving it, so I didn't know how to, protect my energy. Um, yeah, but all the rest of it, like, you know, fans who are just fantastic, who are just warm and respectful and loving, love all that. Love doing all the interviews and talking to people because I love people. Um, yeah, I loved it. I loved all that part. Yeah, it was good.
Cool, cool. So now, when you look back over your career, Lisa, do you have any regrets? Do you regret not doing a second album?
Mm,
Do you? How do you feel about that now?
mm. You know, you would think that I would regret it, but I actually don't. I think, how can I explain this? At the time that I was signed, I think that they thought I was already too old. I might have been 28 or 29 when they signed me. And they were really kind of looking to sign, younger artists. I was a mature artist at that point. Um, and then once I lost my record deal, because we were getting ready to leave Elektra for a different company. And then once I got off of Elektra, the new company decided not to sign me for some reason. So I would guess that it had to do with my age and whatever direction that the company wanted to go in. So I was kind of left with no deal. And so I was a bit heartbroken and confused. I felt like I could trust what I knew. I knew background singing, I knew seeing people eye to eye and talking with them. The corporate side of the record company stuff was really uncomfortable for me. So I just felt like I was still going in the path that I needed to go in and learn whatever lessons I needed to learn. So now that the music business is so different, I feel like I can just choose songs and music that I just want to do. The sense of freedom is so important to me. Um, Making a living, I can take care of myself. I'm grateful for that. I don't know how long that will last. We never know how long any of it's going to last, right? But I I enjoy the sense of play and freedom and not feeling like I have to do things in a traditional record company way. Um, I don't know if my heart could have taken the pressure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you play the album today? in so intense? Do you play it just for your own personal enjoyment or critique? Do you know?
I don't play it. It's almost 33 years old. Um, it's a mature woman now. And my voice is settled into a whole nother thing. So it's lovely to listen to, like when people play it, but I'm always judging myself, so sometimes it's hard to just be a listener. Even after all these years, it's just hard to be a listener. It's I think it's just uh I think what it makes me want to do is create something new to listen to, which is probably a good thing. So I've been recording, which has been a really great thing. Um, it's been fun. And so we'll see. So hopefully this year I'll be able to share some things and it'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay. We're almost done here. I always ask everyone this question: Who inspired you as a young girl? Who said that that girl can really sing? Who told you that?
Oof. Um, I think my I'm laughing because my brothers used to tease me all the time. You sound like a cat.
Oh no! Ooh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. And just
Kids, yeah,
teasing. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So I just sang all the time. It gave me more than the sound that I was making, the feeling of breathing in air, having a thought, and letting out sound was such a beautiful circle to me. Just that feeling of like, and just releasing this energy was very healing for me. So I think I was attracted to that. I don't think I was really very good when I was younger, but I wanted to be. And so I worked really hard at listening to people like Dinah Washington or uh, um, Marilyn McCoo or, all the Motown greats, Diana Ross and Dionne Warwick and Aretha and Chaka Khan and, oh God, Johnny Mathis, Nat King Cole, oh Lord, just all kinds of music. Soul Makusa, Soul Makusa, Mama, Soul Makusa.
Yes,
Just all
yes,
these different,
yes.
flavors. I just loved good music. I loved listening to anything that just felt good. And so, I like classical music. I like world music. I like jazz. I like rhythm and blues. I like, orchestral pieces. I like all of it. I like choral pieces. I just love it all. Music is a blessing. And I think every human being should sing. I think it would be a healing art for humanity, honestly. Whether
Mm.
you have an ear or not, I think being able to develop it and having the opportunity to breathe with other humans and making sound and tucking your voice in and learning how to sing with other people is just a lesson in life, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, at what point did you decide that music is it? That music is my calling. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. Where did that come about?
I think kindergarten for
Mm.
sure. I think I knew I would die if I couldn't sing.
Mm.
I felt like I am happiest when I am doing this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, trying to do research on you, I didn't find much about your childhood. So, where are you from? Did you sing in church? Did you study music? Talk to me about all that. Yeah, I'm sure you studied music. You had to.
I
But
did. There was always music in the house. My mom and dad sang. My dad was in a group called what was it called? The Cupids. There were two. There was a white group called the Cupids and a black group called the Cupids. And my dad sang background, and they had two songs. It was a 45. Uh, One of the songs was Your Dog Likes My Dog. The other song, I know, right? The other song was The Answer to Your Prayer, which I absolutely love, and I'm actually thinking about redoing it
Mm.
um, in his honor. So that was my dad, and so you know he would have all the guys coming over and rehearsing with the record, and they get their little drink on with the little glasses, a little bit of ice, a little brown liquor in the glass, and you'd hear
Uh,
the tinkling of the ice in the glass, and they're giggling and laughing and making beautiful music. And so I was always like hiding behind the couch and listening to adult conversations and listening to them harmonize and how they would speak to each other and just that whole thing that singers do. And my mom sang a little bit. She played a little violin. And then my father's father, my grandpa, bought us a piano. And we just fell in love with that piano and watched my mom figure it out. She used to love figuring things out on her own. She'd get little books and just figure stuff out. And she played beautifully. My grandpa played stride. It was so lovely to hear him play. And then I would just start picking things out with my ear and start memorizing, the notes on the piano and all that kind of stuff. So it was like a whole world just opened up. I loved that. I had sang in church, but always background. I loved singing background. And so I would listen to each part, memorize each part. I went to Queens College, music. I went to Music and Art High School for music. Um, I stayed in Queens College for maybe 2 semesters. And then I started working in clubs because I really kind of wanted to go to Juilliard. Didn't have the means to do that, but I was so grateful to be able to go to Queens College because what ended up happening was there was a wonderful teacher there named Dr. Robert White. He was the kindest, sweetest man, and he would give me free voice lessons. Um, he introduced me to Carmela Williams, Black opera singer, um, and was so loving. He ended up leaving Queens College and teaching at Juilliard. He teaches there now.
mm,
And I just
mm.
saw him last year. He's still just the same sweet, wonderful teacher, soul. And a lot of what he has taught me, I still use to this day. So he gave me a great foundation for just longevity. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Tina Turner and the Rolling Stones. What kind of experience was that? Let's do Tina first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I was home on break from a Rolling Stones tour. And the production manager was the same production manager for Tina as was for the Stones. And he called me out of the blue. He says, are you around? I was like, yeah. He says, one of the singers has to leave. He said, do you want to, sing background for Tina Turner? I was like, do I want to sing background for Tina?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, 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 yes.
And I
Mm-mm.
had met her briefly on the road. She had sang a duet with Mick on the road on a solo tour, I think it was. And so I met her. I met Roger Davies, her manager. And so I was just so in awe of her. Working with her was um, just such a gift. She's, in my mind, 6 feet tall, but when I actually stand next to her, I realize that she's like five something. She's like maybe 5'4", and her energy, the way she would hold her head high, the way she would look at you and through you. And, you know, when she was talking about what she wanted, it was just old school. And I needed that. I needed that. I loved learning what it was she wanted by example. The way Luther explained things was totally different. It was a different, more background singer kind of thing. But hers was really more this old school, and you really had to listen not only to what she was singing, but how she was telling you to sing it. Her conversation, the energy, it was all the colors and what you should be feeling. Um, yeah, yeah, she was definitely a huge, wonderful inspiration and lesson and just um, being okay with getting what you need, you
Hmm,
know? Yeah, yeah. Just and funny, funny, the most
really?
amazing, amazing laugh. Whenever she laughed, you couldn't help but laugh with her. The sound of her laugh was just so joyous, so deep, so rich. Um, yeah, beautiful soul, beautiful soul.
In the Rolling Stones, what was that experience like?
Amazing. Um, my well, it's kind of funny because my grandmother, my father's mother, was the mother of our church, one of the many mothers of our church. And so, we had to come into church being right and dressed right and talking right and doing right, no chewing gum, blah, 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 the program. So when I mentioned to her that I'd be going on the road with the Rolling Stones,
Uh-oh.
exactly. Aren't they heathens? I
Ooh.
know. It's just like,
Ooh.
I know. It's just like, Grandma, that's just so wrong. So I kind of had to explain to her, they were in a place, luckily for me, they were in a space where their kids were getting older and the kids were coming out on the road. So it was very family oriented by the time I got up in there.
Right, right, right.
So, I was enjoying mine.
Now you have a group now called Grand Baton.
Oh my goodness.
Describe that. Describe your sound. I know you're touring, aren't you? Touring right now with the group?
Yeah, yeah. So, JC Maillard is the creator of Grand Baton. It means big stick in French. And so it's really his concept. And uh, he's the musical director, arranger. He writes, he makes all these beautiful arrangements. And then there's the drummer who is Terry Arpino. Um, his dad is a drummer or was a drummer. And so he's the son of a drummer. And he and JC have played together for a long time. So the two of them together have a lovely rapport. And we started out with a guy named Aiden Carroll, who's an amazing bassist, songwriter, producer. And then now we have Richie Goods, who's playing bass with us, who's also an amazing artist as well. Um, and so we get to just kind of play in the sandbox together. It's been really great, just reimagining these songs and taking them to different places and just bringing joy. That's what we like to do.
Yeah. Now, any chance of you coming to Chicago? Is
Oh, we
that,
would love to. We would love to. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
all right. All right. Well, I can't believe our time is up.
Oh,
Yeah, this has been a good conversation, Lisa.
mm,
Anything else you would like to share? Anything else on your mind that we did not talk about that you want to talk about would be fine to talk about.
yeah. I work with a lovely pianist named Taylor Eichstein. So I do some shows with him, which has been really fun. It's just voice
Hmm.
and piano, which is kind of really naked and fun. So I kind of enjoy that. And I just love the way that he plays. And I also sometimes do shows with a group called Ranky Tanky out of Charleston. Um, they're a gullah group and they're just reimagined in their own right. And they're like a two-time Grammy award-winning group. I love
Hmm.
working with them. Kiana Parler is an amazing vocalist. The whole band is amazing. I think what else am I doing? And hopefully I'll put out some music this year. That's about it. I'm just grateful to be alive, grateful to be here, grateful to be talking to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate you sitting down for a few minutes. Really, really did. Thank you. So, but before we close, I'm going to give a quick thank you, a shout out to Howard Sandifer and his wife, Darlene Sandifer. They are the founders of the Chicago West Community Music Center, a great school on the West Side. And this whole video podcast was their idea. They
Oh,
said,
wow.
let's have lively conversation with our newsmakers and celebs. So here we are, and I think that we just had a lively conversation.
Yes.
So I thank you again. I thank them. And also for the viewers, please click like and subscribe. Please click like and subscribe. See you next week. Bye-bye.